Well, speaking of children, a Utah mom, she wrote a children's book about grief.
Yeah. It's a good story.
This is not even the first time we've talked about a woman who writes a story about grief after someone she knows dies.
Nancy Brophy also did this too.
It turns out Corey Richens is charged with first-degree aggravated murder with the connection of her late husband, Eric Richens.
Now,
so I will say that was a chapter 2 when it comes to grief. If you did it, it's also kind of fun. Maybe that was a little hint that perhaps one of the stages of grief for her was hiding the body. Well, that's unique.
It is. Because, again, if someone really cares, to be honest, that is one of the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, defense postures, being like, they cared so much for the children. They didn't want to be dug up by scavengers. But this story is another one of those that doesn't really, make full sense to me, because this guy said multiple times to many people, Eric Richens, my wife is trying to fucking kill me. She's a Mormon. She's accused of poisoning her husband.
Right.
Now, came out. She was, her husband died, I believe.
It was a lethal amount of fentanyl.
Oh, yes.
And it was March 3rd, 2022.
She's not a bright murderer.
She also, interestingly enough, the vehicle for the fentanyl. Do you know what it was?
Moscow Mule. Yeah.
Which is I don't think I've ever seen anyone poisoned via Moscow Mule before.
So this guy had made several statements up to this point.
Also, I'm sorry, just one second. Sadly, he got the Moscow Mule because he was celebrating a real estate deal for her business. And Moscow Mule, that is a celebratory drink, isn't it?
It is. I love the copper cups.
I do like it.
I do. I really do. But this guy, I feel really bad for him. But again, you never know what happens, inside of a marriage, but it does seem that she was angling for money.
Yeah, she's a fucking psycho bitch, bro. She killed her husband and wrote a book about killing her husband, and I know how sad she was.
So there was a process. So it starts with Eric, what's his last name? Eric Richens started complaining that he felt that there was a suspicious amount of time, essentially, that he was getting sick directly after something that Corey Richens fed him or gave him to drink. And he started joking with his friends about how, I think Corey's trying to kill me. And then what happened was that she, behind his back, after these real estate deals went, this is red flag number 1. Your wife decides to change your life insurance policy with your company without you knowing about it to having basically double it up and make sure that she's the beneficiary. The company was like, whoa, what's happening here? And they stopped it. She then tried to do it again, where she tried to open up another life insurance policy on him, and even the husband kept saying, I think something's really going on here. I don't know what's up. So on February 14th, this is when it first started of 2022. He had a drink that she gave him after eating together. He got violently ill and he had to go to the hospital. And he then said again, I think I was poisoned. I think that she did something to me. I believe it was 10 days later. She fed him this Moscow Mule that had 5 times the deadly dose of fentanyl inside of it. And she had a guy. So this is all obviously.
She had her little drug buddy.
The guy that sold her the drugs was the one who flipped on her, right? And he said, obviously I've been selling to this Mormon mom. And she's been buying stuff and finding this guy buying stuff from this drug dealer. And he said the first thing she bought a bunch of drugs from him. And then she came back and she's like, these weren't strong enough.
Yeah, she bought hydrocodone first.
Did. And then she went and she said straight up, the term was, I need that Michael Jackson shit.
Which really wasn't, I don't believe fentanyl was
the final
name. Yeah, that's right. Also, Richens allegedly obtained 15 to 30 fentanyl pills worth $900.
Yes.
Fucking hell, that's expensive.
Yes, she did it all.
God.
It was all for the insurance money. She was trying to get out of it. But then she discovered it's actually really difficult to do insurance fraud. I do believe that's
they don't want to pay you.
No.
Yeah, that's the one thing we've all learned. They don't want to pay you
even if it's correct.
No, they don't. Insurance is, I'm going to say, a scam. Life is a pre-existing condition, and animal insurance, I had it, but I just stopped it because they don't pay for anything.
They actively don't want to pay these things. So she probably bumped into that. So she said that she looked out on the market and she was like, there's no books about a grieving Mormon family needing to celebrate a lost husband, which I actually also don't think is real.
What about the Book of Mormon? Isn't like there's a bunch of death in that? I'm sure
It's for fucking cucks. And this is here like to the words. So it's called, the book she wrote was called "Are You With Me?" And it shows a picture of her husband. It was done with full puffer vest, hat, beard, as an angel, rooting her son on in a soccer game. And here's the back of it. Are you with me? Are You With Me? It was written to create peace and comfort for children who have lost a loved one. It's to reassure children that although your loved one is not present, their presence always exists, and they walk through life with you as if they were here. So it's like they're alive.
it really is like they're alive. Their poor child. She just took their father away, or I think there might just be one. Either way, it doesn't matter.
And it was dedicated to my amazing husband and a wonderful father.
So wasn't that worth it? Isn't that worth experiencing night terrors? And just basically she tortured him until finally she got the right drugs that was going to kill him.
She's also just straight up a fucking bad criminal and a moron, because they said immediately it was highly suspicious way up top, because she said she found him passed out on the floor when she woke up in the morning and then she was dead, right? They all say the same thing with Tammy Daybell. They all Chad Daybell's version of Tammy Daybell's death is the dumbest shit.
And they were dead.
Well, Key literally said, I woke up, she was laying half out the bed. This is Chad Daybell. And then she just flipped out of bed dead, which just doesn't happen. That doesn't
reminds me a little bit of that other psychopath. Was it Martin? I always say Chris Martin, but that's the guy from Coldplay.
He's another type of psychopath.
It's the piece of shit. Well, I did hear someone, his friends at the local bar. I know that they know the drummer of Coldplay, and they said he has the perfect life because no one knows who he is.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
But no, the other douchebag with the short blonde hair who was just like, my wife was abusing the children, so I had to kill my wife and stuff. It was a big ass story. I always say Chris Martin, but it's not Chris Martin.
I know who you're talking about. I just watched this thing. I forgot this story.
He's such a piece of
Celebration, Florida. Yeah.
Yes.
But this. She said she came upon his dead body and then she immediately jumped into CPR, but then all the police were like, no, you absolutely did not.
Right.
Because when we came, we saw that there was blood, foam and blood ever coming out of his mouth. Obvious sign of a overdose.
Right.
And then they went and did a toxicology report immediately. Fentanyl. 5 times the lethal drug dose in his body, right? And they're like, oh, this doesn't work either. And then she tried to say, oh, he always had a pill problem. And then he was covered up from high school, and they're like, well, no, this is powdered fentanyl that's in his system. That it's not really how it goes, and then all of it was ingested orally.
Isn't that interesting? She chose a mule, the drug mule of drinks, the Moscow mule. Also, you can get the.
So you're saying she works for Putin?
It's very possible. Also, what's it called when you make it with tequila? It's really good.
A Moscow Mule with tequila?
Yes, it's called something else.
It's called
I think it's just a Mexican mule.
Rivington?
I think it's called a Mexican mule. It's really good, though. I liked it better with tequila. All right.
Yeah, you say it's Mexican mule. That's what they say.
All right. Well, let's go on to something more innocent. Pranks. It turns out you can't really have fun in high school anymore. Caney Creek High School, given all the everything horrible it happened.
Everything's bad.
Starting in 1999. So a Texas high school says an odor led to hospitalizations and a bunch of classes were canceled.
Well, but I've dealt with stink bomb issues before in high school.
Well, that was the whole thing. It turns out it was just a high school kid using stink spray as a prank, and it sent 6 kids to the hospital. But are you gonna? You can get a headache from the stuff. It stinks for a reason.
It's gross. Yeah, it's bad. It's just one of those things where
This kid's life shouldn't be ruined, though, because of this. He was just trying to use... This is the most innocent... I wish kids would just do this.
Yes.
Oh, I stink spray, fart bombs.
It's cute.
Whoopee cushions.
That's to me, if we're going to get into semi-harmful pranks, that's at least... fun.
It's funny.
It's edgy. It doesn't directly hurt people, but it can make people sick. Have you researched, that story of the serial,
Farter?
No, I wish. The serial brick tossers from overpasses in Texas. It's one of those stories. I was recently watching an old Bill Burr, Doug Stanhope podcast from last year.
That's one of those things that's been going on since I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I remember there was someone that threw a stupid-ass cinder block over an overpass in Wisconsin. I remember as a kid, my parents be like, better watch out for that. I was like, what? Watch out for what?
But it's one of those stories where it's
horrible.
it's all quote unquote like just fucked up kid shenanigans until
it's like
somebody really gets hurt. And that's the worst. That's like the thing about turning like close to middle age is that like that thing where you start to realize being like, you children don't understand that your whole lives are ahead of you and one stupid
Is it
action
worth it?
can actually fuck up your life and a lot of other people's lives.
Watch the movie Sleepers. Good God. Because next thing you know, you kill a person on accident and you go and get molested by a fucking priest.